I'm your host, Brian Patrick, and today I am speaking with Peter Van Geldern. Peter, please introduce yourself and share with us a little about your background.
Sure. I'm happy to be on the show. I love this topic of land sovereignty and safety for people who want to be on the land. So, my background is architecture primarily. I went to school in America and London to study architecture. My dad was an architect, so I started working when I was 15 years old, So, I have a very strong foundation, and I went to one of the best schools in Europe called the Architectural Association, which was really design focused. So I'm not even a licensed architect. I went a different route. I'm a design leader. I call myself, it's design leadership. So I like to cover the gamut of an entire project. I can be on the very early concept development all the way to here are your keys, let's move in, and then I apply my architectural thinking to all kinds of different things that I do, like startups, creative agency, AI, organizational development, facilitation. I still use my architectural thinking in everything I do. So it's good to understand a little bit more about me. I'm probably like you, Ryan. I'm a polymath. I'm fascinated with many things, and I like to go deep quickly and figure it all out. And then I'm bored and I want to move on into something else. It's part of our brain. But the gift is, the superpower is actually to see all the connections. We start to think about ecosystems, not one specialization. So you're really well suited for the age of AI and the age we're moving into. We're almost like different kinds of human beings now. We're really well suited for the kind of world that's coming, because it's all about communication, connectivity, uh, interdependence.
Mhm.
Not, like I'm the king of the castle, no kings. Like, we all have to work together. We're on a planet now, and we know that. And with limited resources, and also, you talked about sovereignty.
Mhm.
We're sovereign beings. Humans have to run. We have to run this planet, not run it into the ground. But a little more about me is that the last several years, I've been working with communities, and particularly around buying land, intentional communities. I've had some clients that really wanted to have like sovereign land to protect themselves. So I have a couple prepper clients that like created like, protected land with and sight lines and everything. So if things went south,
Sure.
and then even like an Atlas shelter for their family with backup, food and reserves. So I've had those kinds of clients. I have my latest passion, and why we're talking today, is agro hoods. So people actually buying farmland that produces food and has housing. So you're getting food security with community and
Mhm.
like sovereignty. So I spent a lot of time, Brian, talking about governance models. I did a farm in Pennsylvania, and we hired a woman to give us a workshop in sociocracy. And sociocracy was what she thought was the linchpin in every successful community, is the really thriving, successful co-housing or intentional communities had a governance model
Yeah.
around a flat organization where everybody had a voice,
Mhm.
and there was like a democracy at work, really. Like, you could you could make decisions together, and everybody had a voice, and you had conflict resolution. You had built in, you could solve problems. You had voting proportions, a little bit different than traditional democracy, but it worked great for communities. But that's sort of a little bit of a background about me. A lot of years of production. I've done filmmaking, documentaries. I run a permaculture farm myself. I live in Southbury, Connecticut, and I bought an old horse farm. And over the last 6 years, we built fruit trees. We built greenhouses and we have fruit trees, and we sort of have like self-reliance and land sovereignty here. It's in a residential district, so it's not perfect. I'm looking to maybe buy a larger farm with a group of people in Hudson, New York, and have more like agricultural sovereignty. The laws and the opportunities within agriculture are a little better than like a residential farm, because there's so many rules and codes and stuff. But I've said a lot. But there you go.
You've covered, although in the spirit of community, we've covered a lot of territory just in the brief few minutes that we've opened up this interview discussion. So your base background is in architecture that you've been doing since roughly around the age of 15, quite a young age. So your father
a
was
long
in.
time ago. I'm 61 now, so I
So
hit my
you're.
60s recently, and that's good for architects. The more gray you have, the more.
Oh, is that? Well, then I'll grow my beard out, and then I'll be like a shoo-in.
Yeah, go gray, then people like trust you.
So it runs in the family. Your dad was an architect. You're an architect. However, you said you're not licensed, and you went into it. It's like this grand encompassing umbrella of a grand designer.
This design leadership. So leading teams as a designer, designing solutions.
Sort of a very, very, very supreme when it comes into this field. So, and as you mentioned, just like the interconnectedness between just, well, let's say in general, yet specifically speaking to architecture, from the purchase of the land to what are we going to build on it, to how are we going to build upon it. This is who we're hiring. This is why we're going to do it. And then here are your keys. Like you're like overseeing the entire project. And you mentioned, preppers, maybe like on their land, their compound, all the way up to like communal living, and then to the degree of the governing system of the community on that ground. Oh, you mentioned film work. I'm curious if you've done any documentaries or just like specific around any of this, or it's been, you have.
I had a partner for many years. We were 20 years in the city, ran a creative agency together, and he's a producer, director. I was like the creative director and design leader for the film. We did, it was called it was about the Hudson River. We did it with Bobby K. Jr., actually, who's now in government. And he's a very famous environmental lawyer, particularly around the Hudson River. So we got him to narrate. It was basically like a teaser. We did like a 5-minute introduction to the documentary to sell to PBS. So we got we have a nice piece that we started down the road. So that was my first environmental film. I was just very inspired and felt like that was the message. That was like early 2000. That was before 9/11. We took a boat out in the river, and we went all over the Hudson River and had guest speakers, and we talked about many things about the Hudson, but especially the environmental importance of saving the river. It was a mess, and I have to say the guy did a great job. Since then, the Hudson's really come back from like a mess. You could light a fire on the Hudson, it would catch on fire. It was so bad. So working with Robert Kennedy Jr. was fun, and that was early. His voice was still in good shape back then. So before he lost some of his vocal cords to a ailment. Sure. And super smart guy and fun to work with. So and I did hundreds of small films for nonprofits.
Okay. Let's put that in a VHS tape off to the side to rent later. And I only say VHS tape because that's what came to my mind in this moment. let's put the filming off to the side. Let's dig back into the current projects that you're working with now. Now we spoke. It's been some time. When we first connected, it's what I call Buffalo concrete, because much like much like utilizing the buffalo or any animal in that form, just completely utilizing the entire animal, the object, just and being resourceful and also honoring it. You're working with not buffalo yet. What?
Oh, it's industrial hemp. So I think we talked about there's a film out by the daughter of the CEO of Patagonia of the clothing brand.
Yep.
They're starting to use hemp, industrial hemp fibers in their clothing, and there was a film made by the daughter of that company of the owner, and she made a film called The Green Buffalo. So much like how the buffalo was for indigenous people, it was their food, it was their trading, it was their like migration, everything, right? They used the whole buffalo. That was sort of the famous phrase, right? So hemp, industrial hemp, we're not really talking about marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cousin. Cannabis was really is the parent or genus. So you think of canvas sails, blue jeans, early blue jeans were all hemp. The American flag was on hemp. American money was printed on hemp. Our presidents all grew hemp. Like it was the king before America was America. The law was you had to grow hemp because that was how the English Navy was the strongest Navy in the world. All the ropes and all the sails were hemp because hemp didn't rot. It was mold resistant. It has an antimicrobial element, and the fibers are stronger than steel. So I started 6 years ago. I moved to Connecticut. I met some farmers who were growing hemp, and black farmers, actually. It was a part of a black farmer fund, and I was like really turned on by how amazing the plant was. And turns out that the fiber is sort of the money of an important part of the plant, but there's a lot of other waste products. So we started the industry started looking at like waste to value, right? I'm a regenerative architect. If you think of me, like I'm a design leader, but it's in the world of regenerative economics, regenerative building, bio-based building, healthy homes. That's my area. We used to call it green, but it's like greenwashing takes over. Even regenerative is getting watered down, but regenerative just means like working with nature instead of against it, right? Like nature is regenerative, and we want to work with that psyche, and that way of life giving.
So like regenerative, such as in renewable or the recyclable. You said something along the lines that made me think that now regenerative is becoming like a trendy word or a keyword that I'm going to insert into my packaging and marketing, which makes me a good company to buy from because it's all regenerative. Am I right in that assertion?
Yeah, well, it's easy to hijack words that the culture is we're at a very exciting time in the regenerative economy where early adoption is starting to happen. So when I started with hemp 6 years ago, I flew to Paris. I met the French. The French have been building with what's called hemp hurd mixed with lime and water to create hempcrete. So your buffalo stone or buffalo, you're really talking about hempcrete or hemp lime, we call it. And it's a beautiful material as an architect because it has thermal mass. It's big. It's almost like a stone. It kind of turns to stone it's not structural. It insulates, so it has a good R value. It breathes. It's breathable. So the indoor air quality is fantastic. It helps with humidity. It helps mitigate heat and cooling naturally because of the nature of it, the thermal mass. It's mold proof. It's pest proof. It's fire resistant. So we've been working with the Palisades peak groups to rebuild with hempcrete, and anywhere there's like fire has become such a huge like international issue. And the Australians have really adopted hempcrete as a primary building material because they suffer from huge forest fires and things like that. Insurance companies are now looking at the viability of hempcrete as something that they can insure, because now it's very hard to get a home because they won't give you fire insurance. They won't give you flood insurance, because it's sort of like, give us all your money, but you're on your own, right, with insurance. So hempcrete is such an amazing, durable, it withstands earthquakes. I just kind of fell in love with this checklist. Like, as a regenerative designer, I was like, this is like a dream plant. So it's sort of a super plant. Not only it creates food, because the seeds, like you probably had, like hemp seeds are in salads and great for animals. And then you can do medicine with it. You can do there's so much carbon in it. And that's the big thing I want to talk about, is it's a carbon capture.
Okay.
So you can build a building. You can hold more carbon than it takes to build it. So it could be a carbon negative building.
Does it absorb, or is it merely just it's the carbon negative?
So the hemp plant grows in like a few months. It's one of the fastest growing weeds that you can grow. So you're producing, like, you're capturing carbon when the plant grows. Basically, that's what plants do, right? So not only does it capture it, it embodies it, right? Okay. So then we're encapsulating that material in the building. So we call that like carbon capture or carbon embodiment. And so the plant is you can make paper out of the plant. That tree takes 20 years to grow, and we're making toilet paper out of it and paper. Hemp plants grow in 3 months to 6 months, and the biomass is much, much more, right? And we can do that. We can do sometimes 2 crops, 3 crops in a year if you're in the right place. So we could take over we could take over the paper industry. We're affecting the clothing industry, where we can do cardboard. So we can have Amazon boxes and cardboards can be all made with hemp. We can have plastics. So the actual like fibers and the material, the waste material makes a great plastic, because we have like lignin. Really? There are lignins in there. Is that and then right? The last thing before you ask the question, there's so much carbon capture in a industrial hemp plant, you can make batteries out of it. So we're trying to bring the American battery industry back to America and get out of all these like war-torn countries trying to get lithium and exploiting other lands. So we can actually have American-made batteries with hemp. So we're so excited. I run something called the Hemp Hub, which is a weekly call with other industry professionals in our industry. We're trying to lift the industry together. It's like a consortium of hemp professionals. So it's really lifting this new industry in America's our goal.
When you mentioned the textiles and such, clothing, the jeans and all, I had a hemp wallet for the better part of 20 years. Right. One wallet. For the better part of 20 years. And I mean, it's sold me. You got me. Yeah, you got me sold.
BP, if you take, like, you can't use regular farm equipment to cut hemp because the fiber is stronger than steel.
Yeah.
You have to use carbon steel blades. It's a really like incredibly resilient plant, and it cleans the soil too. It's one of the best rotation crops on the planet. It'll pull like heavy metals right out of the ground, so you can restore and regenerate the land with hemp.
Dude, so we're talking about the interconnectedness of things and our interests in systems, ecosystems and all, and I can only imagine like the fun that you're having, like this big amusement park of like, what can we do next with this, so I have not looked at your publication. You have a publication on Substack as well, and you mentioned the Hemp Hub. Do you want to say a little more about that?
Yeah, so it's about 2.5 years did what's called a round table of people went to one of the early buildings in Wally Farm in New York, state of New York. It's farm built to hempcrete homes as like they're like retreats and Airbnbs for people, and you go in there and you get to experience a hempcrete home, and they were just so beautiful, so well done. Shout out to Hempstone and Tom Rossmassler, who was the lead, hemp builder on that. So he did a workshop with several other hemp leaders, and we all just kind of, if we were interested, we went. We had a day to talk about it, and I met a lot of people in the industry, and I decided to create the Hemp Hub as a weekly call. Say, hey, look, we're all excited. This is the future of building and healthy homes and affordable homes that people can feel, like you said, this is sort of a sovereignty plant, right? Like the green buffalo is a sovereignty plant. The buffalo is a sovereignty animal. It's like, so we really all were very extreme and like what's possible. And so I just been holding that call for each week, and that's a great group of people. Everyone's invited. It's just an open call, and if those that are interested in moving the needle and growing this industry, and as you know, probably part of the vibe of this channel, VP, is like one of the hardest things about hemp is that hemp was actually like shut down by the paper industry, was vilified, and they bundled industrial hemp into marijuana as a drug. So it's only till 2018 it was declassified as a drug, and the Farm Bill opened it back up. So it's fairly new. It's like reinvigorated. It's not new. It was a huge part of the American economy. And
so, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I won't say anything about this now. We're going to save this for another episode. But to go ahead and insert it as a seed, planting the seed for another episode. You're talking about, okay, so replacing paper. Then you talked about batteries. You didn't state specific batteries or whatnot. Yeah. So my mind goes to Tesla, Nikolai.
Yeah.
Mr. Tesla. And then I'm also thinking of
Nikola Tesla, the original Tesla.
The original Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the OG, the OT.
The OG, yeah.
The OT. So anyway, well then I read an article, I read an article that Henry Ford's wife drove an electric car. So when you start talking about what you're talking about, and I have, for a good many number of years background in massage therapy, and then these like alternative methods of healing or medicine, alternative methods of assisting people. I'm like, these aren't alternative, these are the original methods, right?
That's right.
And then the issues with pharmaceuticals and chiropractic, and they're like, trying to like debunk, chiropractic work or anything, that could be done just without medication. So when you mention, these the plethora of uses that hemp itself can be used for, I'm like, oh, here we go.
It really threatens so many industries, and Rockefeller was the same group of like, barons of industry and guys that like had so much power and money, they could like shut down their competitors. So you mentioned like the alternative health industry, which was really the original health industry, was vilified and shut down, and pharmaceuticals became marketable, and that whole industry born out of that. And then the paper industry from trees, which was a waste product they didn't know what to do with, so they were able to
say plastic,
everybody down. Plastics were really a competitor to the petrochemical industry. Like, we can kind of do almost everything that a petrochemical can do, we can do with hemp. Plastics, plastic bottles, and then things that are like, they don't have these like forever chemicals in them. They're regenerate. And then, one of the things with the hemp, like a hemp building, is what we call cradle to cradle design too. So you can kind of compost that building when you're done. It'll go right into the ground and be healthy. So we say in the building industry, like most of American building is like the McDonald's fast food of building. You know, it's vinyl and like forever chemicals and very toxic. You die very quickly in a fire with the home because everything's there's so many chemicals in it, and then you're kind of living in this house, disrupting your endocrine system. You're breathing 24 hours like this. You said like safety, safety. I want to be safe. I want to be sovereign. I want to have my home.
Yes, sir.
Your home is one of the most toxic places to live if you're living in a new modern American home.
Yeah, this so all of that delightfulness aside that everyone's living in, most people, a lot of people, the architecture will itself, which naturally includes the building materials, yet so utilizing natural, so like air conditioning. How, you know,
like
in
your
the
heating
desert,
and cooling goes way down because your air quality and climate control is really
technology from thousands of years ago that are not being utilized today, that just naturally cool. And I get it, we don't need to get into this easily goes into conspiratorial territory, or, you know, whose game are we playing, right? And and I look forward to some future episodes, you know, where the sun is in the south and having the windows in the south and such and all that good stuff. So
Peter,
I have
a little extra time. I have a hard stop at 11 today, but I just got to reschedule. So let's keep going. I want to just show you my 2 books that I just got in. You know, this is I guess I can hold them up.
Passionate about what we're doing.
Yeah, so this is the hemp building directory. So you can see this industry's really been taken off. Like these are all the materials, the players, the supply chain.
Okay.
It's a great resource if you're interested in the industry. And then this is an architect put this together. Hempstead's. He detailed all the sections and how you build it. And that's been one of our biggest challenges, is to get this into the American codes. So the building codes recognize this. It's really just an alternative insulation.
Here enter the lobbyists.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we really it's a real pain point for us that we don't have the cash to lobby and get this stuff moving quicker. It's really one of our big challenges. Now there is a National Hemp Building Association, and we are aggressively getting the codes transformed. We spent a lot of time working on like the fire rating, the shear rating, the earthquake rating, all these things that you need to have verified to be in the building industry and in the code book. That over the last several years, that's been some of the big victories we've been having. But I think we just don't have the big, deep pockets to like rush in and make a big impact. So, you know, the big game is off-site construction. To do prefabricated wall panels is an important part of the concept, so that we can really build affordably at scale. The hemp is kind of a craftsman's thing. It's very handmade. So to make something that can be delivered to the site and assembled quickly is really part of our goal.
Which is the as far as hardwood walls and stuff, a lot of those are being prefabbed off site and shipped in. And you mentioned this now with the hempcrete. I'm looking forward to going into this in another episode. I got the heads up from the producers to go ahead and wrap this episode up here.
Nice.
So, Peter, go ahead, stay on the call. And as this ends up, is there anything, or what would you like to say to wrap this up?
Yeah, I think, I guess the big takeaway is, you know, you're doing great work, which is to, you know, really focus on human sovereignty and community and safety. And like, how do we, this is what I call the well-being economy. You and I are in this well-being economy. How can we be well? The we economy. not the media economy. So my hope is that humanity is sort of waking up and starting to see a higher consciousness, or become a higher consciousness about who we are, what impact we have in the world, and how we can work together. And I think it's happening with a lot of friction. It's crazy times, but what is emerging is good. And then I'd also say I'm also publishing a book this year. I'll just share with the podcast. It's called Regenerating America. And it's all about what's next.
Nice.
And what is the next? It's, this weekend is 250th anniversary of our nation. And that is the end of empire. Actually, as cycles go, we're sort of ending a big cycle of the end of empire. And so what's next? What do we want to create? What is the new America? What are who do we want to be? What do we want to create? So I want to future cast over the next 25 years, 100 years, 250 years, like we get to say how it goes. So I'll send you a link to that book when it's ready.
Most excellent. Most excellent. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing today, Peter.
My pleasure. Great call.
Thanks for watching, listening, reading. This is Sovereign Operations, Home and Travel on the I Be a Giant Network. Until next time, everybody, make a great day.